Hi everyone, it's Yvette Blowitz from SpiritGirl.com and welcome to the Spirit Girl Talk Show podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you today and with our very special guest, Bernice Tuffery, who is the author of Sleep Easy. She is a sleep coach and a sleep advocate. Bernice, welcome to the Spirit Girl podcast show and congratulations on the launch of your brand new book.
Thank you so much. It's a real privilege to be part of this show today. It's been a really long journey getting that book written and released, and it feels really special to now be joining the dots so that we actually get in touch with people that need it.
Yeah, I love your book. It's part of our Spirit Girl book club. I have personally read it. Can I say you have gone to so much work, you and the people, the sleep experts and professionals and societies and everything you've worked with. But this is like 3 books in one. Such great value. So big shout out to Alan and Unwin, your publisher. But what you provide in here is such a personal story of your own, which we'll dive into, and also really practical, I guess, tools, tips, the latest research, the science, and just so much where I was able to really become more self-aware of my own sleep habits, patterns, and things. But yeah, just real honor to have you on the show today. And thank you again for all of the work that you have done to bring Sleep Easy and your story of how I took charge of my terrible sleep, and you can too. So thank you again. Amazing. So Bernice, can you tell our audience a little bit about your story?
My story, I'm a qualitative researcher by trade, by profession. That's what I've done all my life. And prior to having my child, I was a really good sleeper and never gave it a second thought. I just went to bed and fell asleep and all was well, you know. But motherhood threw a real curveball at my sleep, which is a really common story. Once you've got a newborn, obviously you're up and down all night and your sleep becomes, you sort of have this super sensitive hearing and you hear everything in the night. And so my sleep was broken, my sleep was light, it was fragmented. But then even after my daughter was sleeping through, my sleep was terrible, and I just had really bad sleep for years. And even though I tried everything, and looked into all the different things I should be doing, I tried them, they weren't working. So I just started living with bad sleep. And it reached a crisis point, and I just thought, I can't live like this anymore. I have to do something about it. And that was the beginning of discovering that there is a proven treatment out there that regular people don't really have access to. And so it's difficult to access, it's expensive to access. And that's what began me on this journey of treating myself. And then because it was so successful and so doable, I wanted to share it in a book so that it could reach other people.
Wow. Because you do, in your book, you do openly share about those sleepless nights, and also how you thought at the time you were the only one going through this. But you've since shared in your book some really, it blew me away actually, the stats of how common sleep difficulties is, in particular insomnia.
Well, that was the thing that really staggered me. As I was going through it, because you experience insomnia alone, you're the one that's up in the night fretting and trying to go to sleep. And you don't talk about how bad your sleep is with other people because that's just not a topic for conversation generally. And then when I found out that it is 1 in 3 adults that have difficulty sleeping, that blew me away. And the most recent stats are 1 in 7 have chronic insomnia. And so there's so many of us struggling, but we struggle in silence, and we're not aware that there are others sharing this problem. And so we don't get the access to the information. The World Sleep Society describe it as a global epidemic in terms of sleeplessness. So they used those words before the pandemic. Obviously COVID has had a big impact on people's sleep as well. So, the stats are even worse now.
And when it comes to getting a better night's sleep, one of the things I loved and learnt from your book in particular is really looking at your sleep rituals, but routine, and having that point where you're going to, like, the daytime is for activity and thinking and woo, let's go. And nighttime is for sort of slowing down and, having that cut off, drawing that line in the sand, and then having a wind down time in terms of slowing down and relaxing. Like, has that been one of the biggest discoveries for you? And if someone now is wondering, what do you mean you got to have a sleep bedtime? Can you share a little bit more about that? Because that has transformed my life. And thanks to your book, having this, discovering how long it takes me to wind down, which is actually probably 2 hours before bedtime because I'm an overthinker. But yeah, can you share more about that?
Oh, it's one of those things that is so fundamental, and once you understand the biology behind it, you get why you need to do it. Your body needs a routine, and so when you're trying to reestablish good sleeping habits, you actually have to start putting in place some patterns so your body recognizes what it's supposed to be doing when. And by having a set wake up time, that's probably the foundation thing that you can do for yourself, is have a look at your life and go, what is the time that I can wake up 7 days a week? And fix that as your marker. And then the other part of it is to actually learn that you need to have time to wind down in the evenings. Like you said, it's about giving yourself permission to slow down. So it's about turning your screens off, turning your phone off, and allowing yourself some time to actually be still inside, do something that you enjoy doing, whether that's listening to music or talking to a friend on the phone. Oops, I've just told you not to have your phone, but not for really stimulating activities. It's for things that are nurturing, and really being kind to yourself during that time, so that your body can start slowing down in the evening before you get into getting ready for bed and then heading off to bed. But it is about drawing that line in the sand, going, I need to stop my day. I need to stop being really mentally stimulated, and I need to start being calm.
Yeah, I love that. I need to stop being mentally stimulated and I need to be calm. And I think that was the big takeaway from your book, because we can just be checking emails, talking to people, DMing, like texting and thinking is kind of like, and if you're an overthinker and you've already got insomnia or your sleep difficulties, you sort of, I feel like adding fuel to the fire. And from your book, I've also learnt just switching off that phone, and I put it in my bathroom, so separate out of my bedroom. And I love there's a part in your book which says, keep the bedroom for, was it sex and sleep? There's two things you can do in the bedroom. Can you share more about that? I mean, not the sex part, but, the sex sleep part. But you talk about bringing all of those stimulants, TVs and clocks, and why is that?
When we're trying to improve our sleep, we have to basically retrain our brain so that our bed and our bedroom become a trigger for sleep, not a trigger for wakefulness. And what tends to happen, and it's become worse during lockdown when people were sort of trapped in their homes, our bedrooms become these multi-purpose venues where they're used for, you're watching TV in there, you're doing some work on your laptop in there, you're on your phone. Some people might be doing some of their, like their workout in their room, whip out that yoga mat and get on it or whatever. But the room becomes, or you might even eat in your bedroom. So your room becomes this trigger. Your bedroom is a trigger for, awake time. And so your brain is going, oh, I should be awake here. But you've actually got to retrain it so that it's just a trigger for sleep.
And there's a part in your book too where if you have this disassociation, like a negative thought with your bed, like you see the bed and it's like, oh no, I'm going to get a bad night's sleep. Like it's a trigger for those torturous nights when you're just wide awake at 3 a.m. and thinking, why won't my brain switch off? I need to get to sleep. I love there's a part in your book where you share, instead of like laying in bed, as hard as it is, just get out of bed and go to a separate place in your house and maybe just, relax or read a book or do some mindfulness. But instead of just being in that bed, laying there thinking, I can't sleep, tossing and turning, that's a good way to break that negative, association with your bed and not being able to sleep. Can you share more of that?
Well, this is one of the treatment for insomnia-related sleep difficulties is what they call cognitive behaviour therapy for insomnia. And that sounds like a real mouthful, and it is, but really it's just thought and behaviour training for sleep. And so one of the key pillars of that is what they call, again, the sleep scientists aren't good with marketing terms. They call it stimulus control. But all it means is that you are retraining your brain so that your bed becomes a cue for sleep. And just as you say, it's like when you have those dreadful nights where you are lying awake, you're looking at the clock, you're doing maths about how much sleep you haven't had, how long it is till you wake up, how terrible the next day is going to be, and you just spiral into, you ruminate, you catastrophize, the whole shebang. All of that is telling your body that your bed is a cue for wakefulness, and it's not happy wakefulness here, it's stressful wakefulness. So the CBTI approach to that is, rather than staying in bed and perpetuating those thoughts, is that you get out of bed, just like you say, and go somewhere else in the house, calm yourself down, do something relaxing, and then when you are physically sleepy, and the symptoms of sleepiness, quite often people aren't even aware of those, is you yawn, you rub your eyes because your eyes become itchy when you're actually sleepy, and maybe your eyelids close, your head nods. Any of those things tell you, now it's time for me to go back to bed. And that's one of those pillars of CBTI that is spoken about in the book.
Yes, I learnt that in your book. Can I say, I should know that, but I have made considerable changes with your book. So I used to read in bed. I don't do that. Can I say that's actually helped me now? I read in the lounge. I wait because I'm doing that routine now every night, routine. And then I used to sleep in on the weekends to catch up for the weekdays, but I don't. 7 days routine, and it's going up and down, but we're progressing, which you say it's a work in progress, and every day is not going to be perfect, or every night. But I've done that where reading outside, and from reading your book, you said about that where feel for those cues, sleepiness and the eyes. And before I used to work through that, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners will probably be tuning in and go, whoa, that's probably where you're staying up for another hour on Instagram or scrolling or TikTok or something, and then wondering why you can't sleep. But I like how you just shared the cues, and that's in the book. And it was a very like, I gotta feel the cues, look for the cues. That's my cue. And I've noticed if I go beyond the cues, that's when I have a terrible night's sleep. when I didn't like listen to my body or how I was feeling. Can I ask, Bernice, you love to drink coffee, and I do too. However, you go through a really great thing in this book about food and kind of, I guess, stimulants and things that may contribute to us being awake at night. Now, I discovered from your book that if I drink coffee probably at 4 o'clock with a friend at a coffee shop with 2 shots of coffee, I'm wide awake till probably 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. So I've learnt through your book and toolkits and doing a self-awareness that probably 12 o'clock's my good cutoff for good coffee. Any more than that, but it's a personal thing. I know people that can drink coffee at 4 o'clock and their sleep isn't affected. But can you just share some more about coffee and how we might not even be aware that could be a trigger for us staying up at night?
Well, I mean, I love coffee, and it was one of the things that I clung on to for the longest time, because I thought, you know what, coffee doesn't affect me. I'm all good here. But like you, I did the experiment, and it's, once you actually see for yourself, if I do this at this time, this is what happens to my sleep. And once you know that, you can't unknow it. And so it puts you in charge. So there's such a variation in people's sensitivity to caffeine. And like you say, some people can handle, large amounts of coffee and, late in the day, but a lot of us can't. And, for those of us with insomnia, it's something that you really need to check out for yourself and go, how sensitive am I to coffee or any caffeine? So whether it's in your energy drinks or in your tea, black teas, or in chocolate as well, and some of foods as well. So it's always worth checking. And even some medications have caffeine, so it's worth being aware of where your caffeine's coming from. But on the coffee front, you do have to understand what impact it has, and then you've got a choice. And I find that, I'm good till 12. I can have one, even 2 coffees in the morning. But man, if I mess with it in the afternoon, that's I know I'm taking a punt.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I used to think, why am I not sleeping? Why am I wide awake? And why am I? And I really thought, wow, I'm just this creative person overthinking. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute. And then obviously through your book, I was like, I'm going to give this a whirl and because you share your story about your coffee, and you're a coffee lover, and I am too, and so many of our Australian and New Zealand and global audience are. It's a social thing, and it's that taste. But what I discovered was if I had a crappy night's sleep, I was just chugging on coffee to give me that hit to keep me going. But I've discovered, like with you, Bernice, I'm going to ask you some of your other self-care rituals, because in the book you talk about mindfulness, exercise, nutrition, and just really, I think, more of a holistic lifestyle, and how all of this can help and play in.
I think my journey started in terms of, I just want to fix my sleep. My sleep is broken. I need to find a way through this. And using CBTI and the protocols for that, woven in through that, I started using self-compassion and mindfulness. At the time, I didn't even know what those terms were, but the more that I read, I found that I had instinctively started doing that. So it was, I'd adopted this attitude of self-kindness where I thought, I deserve to be able to sleep. I matter. I want a much better life for myself than what I'd been living because I was so depleted and so sleep deficient. And in doing that, I stopped being so hard on myself and so judgmental, which is very much a part of insomnia because because sleep is one of those things that's so fundamental, and you sort of go, well, if I can't do this, what's wrong with me? I'm this terrible person that can't even sleep, and I stopped all that. It's just like, this is a problem that's really prevalent. There's a lot of people going through it, and let's find a way. And then when you discover that there is a way, it's evidence-based, it's, the success rates are phenomenal, and then you've got a path and you can start taking care of yourself and taking actions that make a difference.
And I love in your book, you talk also about the thoughts we have. And I've caught myself in bed, but thankfully read your book, where that thought will be, I had a broken night's sleep. I was up at 3 a.m., I've only had a couple of hours sleep, and I'm calculating how many hours sleep, and then I'm catastrophizing. I'm going to have a really struggle today, shit day, and it's all woo. And then I just think, hang on a minute. No, I've had worse nights sleeps than this anyway. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. I'll do some mindfulness yoga, just relax, just take a break. But can you share more about these, I guess it's a repetitive thought. I didn't even know I had that after a bad night's sleep, but I really do now, but I can catch it. I've become the observer of that negative thought, negative story, I guess. If I don't observe, it'll take me down, but if I can be the observer, I can sort of make a switch and do more positive thinking or positive actions.
And it's this is a really interesting part of the protocol because it's cognitive therapy. So you're becoming aware of the thoughts that you're having, and these negative sleep thoughts are so prevalent with insomnia. And it's, thoughts about, it's really unhelpful thoughts about your sleep, but also about the daytime consequences of your poor sleep. So it's like, yeah, tomorrow's going to be just diabolical because my sleep has been less than ideal. But once you become aware that you have these thoughts, you can actually step back and intercept them and look at them more objectively. And it's not whitewashing them. It's not pretending that they're not there. It's just being aware of them and taking that time to go, is this true? Is this really true? And is there a different way of looking at this that would be more helpful? Because with the negative sleep thoughts and these, fears about your daytime consequences, all they do is that they trigger all your stress hormones. So you've got that your body has the stress response, your heart rate's up, you're breathing in a really shallow way, there's stress hormones racing through your body. And when you're in that state, which has been triggered by your thoughts, then your body physically cannot go to sleep. So your mind has created a state which signals some danger, so your body will have a lot of difficulty falling asleep. So knowing that, you realize that you've got some choice, and you go, okay, yep, we've got a negative sleep thought, an unhelpful thought here. What is it? What can I do about it? Because ultimately I want my body to be in a relaxed state, so physically it can fall asleep.
Yeah, I love how you also, through the book, empower us to really, if I was to think about sleep and maybe a lot of our insomnia people or people with difficulties with sleep will resonate with this, but the thought of even going to sleep could stress me out, thinking, like, oh, am I going to sleep? Am I going to be able to get to sleep? Like stress. The word sleep. Is it going to be 8 hours sleep? Is it going to be a straight through sleep? Like, it's just the anxiety of the thought of sleep. And it's funny because some people who just sleep through like a log, they're probably thinking, what the hell? What do you mean? Like, I know some people just sleep like a log. Apparently I did when I was a baby, but life got in its way. But yeah, so we can get even just stressed, the thought of going to sleep when we are suffering insomnia and sleep difficulties, can't we? And that's where I've had to make this switch of, it's going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to have a good night's sleep. I'm going to do my little sleep routine. And I've got it in place here. Like, I've had to literally switch this thinking and habit and thought-based right around.
It's interesting because it's almost like we set up sleep as a performance. So it's like, I've got to do this. I've got to do it really well. I've got to get 8 hours. It's got to be constant. Otherwise, tomorrow will be a complete disaster. And so it's almost like you've kind of set up these exam dynamics for yourself. And that makes it really difficult for your body to do what it needs to do. So it is about de-escalating the situation. It's like each night is an opportunity for sleep. And as you learn about how sleep works and how insomnia evolves and what you can do about it, you take some steps that will create conditions that are more conducive to sleep. And that's the bit that you can control. You can't actually make your body sleep. All you can do is create conditions conducive to sleep, and your body will do what it can on the night. And so it is about de-stressing the situation so that each night is not this scary performance. It's just an experiment, and you're learning and you're doing things differently, and you're going to see how it goes. And with the things that work in your favor, you're going to keep doing those. The things that work against you, like that coffee at 4 o'clock, perhaps you're going to stop doing that.
Yeah, and
so it's a journey. It's a journey.
And I'm finding I'm getting more people into reading books, which they can all grab a copy of Sleep Easy at any of our retailers in Australia. I know this is launched in New Zealand. It's online. It's at bookstores. But I'm finding if I read a book on my couch, it's just I've got the TV off, the phone off, and it's, for me, this is my thing, but everybody's so unique and different. It could be colouring in or craft, I don't know, listening to beautiful mindfulness meditation music, or doing a nidra, whatever, but finding what's right for you and how to relax. It's the relaxing part. I think we're so used to just doing right up until that bedtime. And yeah, Bernice, in the book you also share about alcohol and cigarettes, which I think is really good because, a lot of people do smoke or do drink alcohol, but you kind of talked about, through your research, looking at this 4 hours before, if you can, trying to sort of that be your last drink, or if you could, as difficult it is as a smoker. I know my brother smokes and he might wake up halfway through the night, I think, and have a cigarette, which is quite common, or they have a smoke before they go to bed. But you do talk about, if you can, trying to wean yourself a little bit back. So if you can, 4 hours is ideal, but we all know it's tweaking back. So even if it's half an hour before bed, that's an improvement, because you talk about progress, improvement, and being not so harsh on yourself.
Yeah, it's progress, not perfection. So those are the goals that you work towards. And, the science is very clear that alcohol is really unhelpful for your sleep. But, we can't make these huge lifestyle changes all at once. So it's about, one thing at a time. And, we're working on our sleep. So let's focus on our sleep. And as we go, we're going to make some adjustments that are workable. It's always got to be doable adjustments. So it's about going easy and going early, basically, with your alcohol and your cigarettes, because those are the things that will have an effect on your sleep. So as you're trying to improve your sleep, you want to just tweak some of these lifestyle habits so that you're getting the sleep that you can. And the thing is that once you start making some improvements with your sleep, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect sleep, but it's improved sleep, you start having more energy, you start having more mental clarity, you start being able to focus on things, you feel more motivated. And as you're getting those wins, you start feeling more empowered to make some adjustments in other areas of your life. But it's little by little, gradual changes. So, and that's why it's a journey. This is not about a quick fix. It's taken a long time to get to this place of, chronic sleep difficulties, and it takes some application to start unraveling them and work out, well, what's going on? How can I do things differently? And what makes a difference for my sleep?
Yeah, and I love your book because you've worked with a lot of sleep experts or sleep professionals who really have helped you bring this book to life, as well as the publishing house. I mean, it must be, how does it feel to see your book there now and all of the research, and you've worked with these incredible people? They've been pivotal to bringing this to life, haven't they?
When I say it, I feel so blessed. I during the writing of it in the early stages, I got to this place where the imposter syndrome was absolutely extreme. I felt like I don't have a psychology degree, I don't have a medical qualification. Who am I to be writing this? There's amazing science out there, but I'm just a regular person that had a lot of trouble sleeping. And so I sort of got to the point where I phoned the publisher and I said, I don't think I'm qualified to write this book. And they insisted that I was. And I thought, well, you know what? I need clarification of this. So I got in touch with sleep professionals in New Zealand, Dr. Tony Fernando, and in Australia it was Dr. Moira Jung, and both of them were so supportive of this and so passionate about it. It gave me so much confidence that this book needed to be written. So I look at it as, this is the inside story. This is how a regular person can apply this evidence-based protocol to make a difference with their sleep. But having the support and the backing of these sleep professionals, and there were a number of others that helped along the way, it gave me real confidence that this was important, that information was accurate, and it was going to make a difference. So when I see it on the shelves, I feel humbled that we're at this place now. So the things you can do in lockdown, eh?
Yeah, no, I'm so grateful because Dr. Maura Young, she did the forward, and and obviously we've got even Dr. David Cunnington, director of Melbourne Sleep Disorders Centre, says this is a helpful, positive guide with practical strategies for improving your sleep. And you've got a 6-week sleep program backed by science. It's just incredible that you all were able to work together in such a collaborative process with the science and the medical professionals, and your research skills, can I say, are through the roof, incredible. So I'm so glad that the Alan and Unwin said, no, you're qualified here because and it's such an easy read. Like, seriously, it's a really easy read. Even if you think you're not a good reader, or if you've got a bit of dyslexia like I do at times, it's such a really practical read. And throughout each week, because you just do a week and looking at one thing, and I don't want to give the full book away, but I just love how it's really practical. You get to like write down, schedule your early bedtime, and you get to do that for yourself, and you go into detail, schedule time to prepare for the bed, which is what I do now. And you work out when you're going to prepare for your bed, schedule time to wind down. Even these little tips for families and anyone who is addicted to social media and on Instagram, at midnight, just these little basic lifestyle, it's just so practical. And the other thing I love is I feel that every health professional or even GP or mental health nurse or family, like I have family members, my uncle struggles with insomnia. Mind you, he's already grabbed a copy of your book, which is phenomenal because he's been on the hunt to work out how he can sleep better. And my mum, who I've seen sadly struggle with insomnia, who's now in aged care, part reason of that. But what tends to happen when people go to the GP, especially I'm seeing it more with elderly, and if they can't sleep, it's just like, oh, okay, here's some sleeping tablets, take 2 a night. Okay, kind of like 15 minutes, boom, go. And what I like in your book, you talk about also getting to the heart if there's any underlying mental health issues like depression or anxiety or whatever it might be. And I feel that is obviously psychologists and psychiatrists and specialists. But what I am seeing a trend in is just you can't sleep. Okay, here's some sleeping tablets. Off you go. So the reason I wanted to share your book is for every family member or person out there that's struggling with sleep or knows someone, grab a copy because it's we can learn about the science, the research, but also go through our own sleep routine and patterns, and it's life transforming. It really is, Bernice. So it's a credit to you all.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot to have your blessing with it and for you to be sharing it so broadly, because there's too many of us suffering, and if it's not you that has a sleep problem, it's somebody that you know, somebody that you're close to, and you might not even be aware of it. I was halfway through writing this book when I discovered that my sister, who I'm incredibly close to, she shared with me that she has sleeping problems. And I was just blown away going, there's people that we don't even know have sleep problems that need access to this information. So it is about sharing it widely. And my wish for this book is that it changes the conversation about sleep. So it's fine that we talk about how busy we are and how tired we are from our, full-on super amazing lives. But it's also about how tired we are because we don't actually know what we need to do to be good sleepers or have healthy sleep. And some of us, it's really common that we don't even know what healthy sleep looks like. So it's starting that conversation is what I would like to see happening.
Yeah, and I think we can get caught up. I especially know in my life of blogging and things and social media and apps, and every business owner or person maybe can resonate. you can be working during the day and then doing stuff at night. But there's also been this really big hustle culture where you got to have a side gig, you got to finish your day job and then get home and, work. You've got people yelling at you on YouTube about you can do it at night. You can build your business, your side hustle at night, stay up to midnight. And then you've got algorithms that require Instagrammers to respond back to every comment. So they look, fantastic with their, what is it, engagement rate. So you've got people just doing all this stuff to, and we've kind of like, it's so important that we go, no, if you're not sleeping well, like I believe now, having burnt out from this hustle culture, that the most important thing is sleep to our mental health, our brain health, our physical health, our overall life and well-being. So I'm a big advocate like you now about sleep and how important it is, because you can hustle all night, but if you don't have your health, what's the point?
And that was something that I found incredibly shocking when I was looking at the short and long-term effects on a body from suboptimal sleeping. It's just not sustainable, in the short term. You experience I can't, my attention's out the window, I can't focus, my memory's shot, I'm grumpy, I'm irritable, I'm impatient, there's all those things short term. I'm clumsy. But then the longer term impacts on your physical well-being and your mental well-being, they're really confronting statistics. And it's important that we don't get horrified and go, oh, if I'm not sleeping, terrible things will happen to me. It's more about going, my sleep is incredibly important to my physical and mental well-being, short term and long term. I need to address this. I want to make some adjustments so that I can look after my health long term.
Yeah, because you talk about it in the book. If when we haven't had a good night's sleep or sleep in general, we tend to go for the fast food or, the not so good food choices. And I know myself, the last thing you want to do is go walking in the morning or do a yoga or go for a jog, and you just don't realize. And I've learned, if you just get a good night's sleep, I'm more productive in the morning, say doing 2 or 3 hours worth of creative work or admin work, than doing it like 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Now, Bernice, I want to ask you, there's a thing in here and you go through a couple of this is week 4, Operation Mind Shift, Dispel Your Sleep Myths. And I love how you also have really beautiful quotes throughout the book. One from Maya Angelou, which is, we all have the possibility, that potential, and that promise of seeing beyond the seeming. But you go through about these things that we can be automatically saying. I'm a terrible sleeper. I'm going to wake at 2 a.m., wake for hours. But you empower us, especially in week 4, how to retrain our brain. So I love that. Now, when it comes to your sleep now, your routine, so what does your sleep routine look like now for going to bed?
Well, what's lovely about it now is that I don't have to think about it. I just do it. It's become automatic behaviour just because habits end up like that. So I do switch off my social media and, just I make sure that I have downtime in the evening. And when I first started doing this, once you sort of turn off the screens, it's like, oh, how do I relax? And it was like I had to figure out for myself what I liked to do of an evening. if it wasn't screen related. And it was, well, do I play an instrument? No. Do I do handicrafts? No. Music, oh, I'll have to find some. But I had really lost touch with how to relax and kind of nurture myself if it wasn't screen related. Whereas now I have those things on hand. There's a nice magazine sitting out somewhere for me to read, or I make sure that I have a good novel at the ready so that I can do something to unwind. And I do things like go for a walk in the evening, because I find it incredibly grounding to be outside and reconnected with nature, and to see the night sky and the stars and look at the moon. And some of those really simple things I'd lost touch with, whereas now they are part of my ritual in the evening.
Yeah, wow, that's so beautiful. And I love how now it's like automatic, like habit, habit, habit. And I'm feeling I'm getting that way. I'm only new into your sleep easy routine, but I love that how you're connecting to Mother Nature, because obviously sun, and we're spending a lot of time now working indoors all day by ourselves with COVID and lockdowns. And how important is it for us to get out there and try and get a bit of sunlight in the morning, or sunlight at all?
Yeah, that's incredibly important. So as I said earlier, one of the fundamental things you can do to get back in tune with your natural rhythms is to set a time that you're going to wake up each day of the week. One of the other things that's really helpful for your biology is, when you get up in the morning, is to get those curtains back. It's like our mums always used to do, pull those curtains back first thing. But it's about getting sunlight, daylight into your eyes. So the ideal is to get outside for 15 minutes and go for a walk in the sunlight without your sunglasses on, because the sunlight is what is triggering it comes in through your eyes, and it triggers your body chemistry to start waking up your wake cycle and getting your sleep cycle out of gear, so that your biology is working the way it needs to for the daytime, and so that it will kick in the evening. So your sleep pressure will be there for you in the evening. So that's something that you can do as a helpful thing, is that 15 minutes of daylight first thing in the morning.
Yeah, love that. Pull the curtains back, which I've been doing, and I love sunlight coming in, but get out if you can, that 15 minutes. And I also love, I feel like I've, through your book, learning just that connecting with that sunset as well, and just feeling, that, the ease of that going down, and that sort of being that trigger, because we sometimes disconnect from our environment and from the wake up, the sunrise to the sunset. Now, Bernice, you have touched on the self-kindness and self-compassion and how important that is. Also, you talk a lot about here pausing for a breath. You also include a basic mindful meditation, which I loved, and even teaching us how to cultivate that mindfulness and what it is. There's just so much information in this book. I kid you not, for our listeners, I kid you not. There's so much information in this book that even if you want to learn about sleep, you could just get this sleep easy. But for anyone who is really having, hate to say it, but really struggling with sleep and insomnia, it's a must-have book. It's an absolute must-read. And I think for anyone, because we're living in times which is full of uncertainty, full of anxiety, full of fear, like, you only have to turn on the news and you'll be stressed within, one news bulletin about whatever's happening in the world. And I feel that from what I've heard since COVID, people's sleep has really been affected with the anxiety and the stress. And I'm hearing a lot of young people also, which is a real concern, Bernice. probably love your thoughts on this, are really struggling with sleep. Now, I never had that as a young kid and a teenager. Sleep wasn't a problem for me, but young teenagers now are really struggling. But when I've spoken to a few, what I've discovered is they have their bright lights on, their laptop or iPad or phone. They're Snapchatting about 20 people, I think, at once, and it's midnight.
It's I find it really scary what's happening in this area, and there's a real correlation between anxiety and anxiety and depression and insomnia. And what you're talking about is some of it is insomnia related, but some of it is also a circadian rhythm disorder, which requires a different treatment. But even in my book, in the first part, there's a review, so you can sort of suss out what you might be dealing with, whether it is insomnia or a different sleep disorder. But sleep education is incredibly important for people so that they understand what their body needs, and so that they can start working with it. So with the use of screens in the evenings and, late into the evening, it's not just about the blue light. I mean, you can get glasses, you can get screen covers that, help you in that department. It's more about the mental stimulation and the anxiety that can come from that. So it's really about becoming aware of the impact that it has on you mentally and physically, so that you've got some choices around it. And you've only got to ask yourself, do I feel better doing this, or is this making me feel anxious? And you do have a choice. It's like we've got our phones with us all the time, and yet they're controlling us, but we do actually ultimately have the choice. We can step away from them, but it's a hard habit to break, but you do have to be conscious of the need to make it and what the benefit is for you.
Yeah, I would love for this sleep education, like the Sleep Easy book, to get out to whether it be mums or dads or carers, but even teenagers. I mean, like, let's face it, a lot of them act like they're adults now. They know a lot more than I knew when I was a teenager. They know way more about the world. But I really feel that if the younger generation, especially teenagers who are struggling with anxiety, insomnia, depression, and just really if they could learn about how important this sleep is for their health, I feel that this could really help also with our mental health crisis with our young teenagers, which is really spiraling out of control in some, in many places right across Australia and no doubt New Zealand and the world. It's on the increase. So if we can educate not only ourselves, but our younger generation, which is why I love your book too, I feel bringing the focus back on sleep and the importance, and it's going to save and transform many lives. So Bernice, I could talk to you forever about your book, but there's one tip I've used I've got to share and ask you before we say goodbye. Magnesium. Now, I have found by having the magnesium tablet before bed, I don't know what it is, whether I was magnesium deficient. I probably should get a proper minerals test on it. But I have noticed that in itself has helped relax my muscles, or I don't know what it's done, but it really has played an important part. But can you share more about that? You shared a bit in your book, but I found it helped.
Yeah, I do take magnesium myself, and one of the things is with magnesium, our soil in New Zealand, we tend to be, it's very common to be deficient in magnesium, so that is something that you can do to support yourself. But again, it's about, check in with your doctor and find out whether that's something that is important for you, or if you don't want to do that, it's about experimenting for yourself. Talk to your pharmacist or your the herbal dispensary and find out whether there's a suitable supplement for you to try. And it's about trying it and see whether it makes a difference for you.
I love it. Trying to see if it makes a difference for you, because that's what all of your supporting your sleep improvement journey is about. And this book here, I loved also. I've got to just do the biggest shout out, because this has become like my go-to, which is the World Sleep Society's 10 Commandments for Sleep Hygiene for Adults. That in itself, even if someone just read page 106, you would just set yourself up for a much better night's sleep for you and the rest of the family. So even if you find that you look at this book and think, oh my goodness, like it's 3 books in one, but it's such great value for money, can I say? And I say take your time reading it, and just even if you read a few pages a day, even 1 page or 2 pages, you will get through it. But if you're like me, you'll be like, oh, just learning and being curious and then experimenting on yourself is a really fun thing, Bernice, that you've set up here. So incredible book again, incredible book. So much gratitude to you. And I know that you're just going to help so many people now, that our Spirit Girl community. Grab a copy of Sleep Easy by Bernice Tuffery, because it's our book club. It's part of the Spirit Girl book club. It's a must read for anyone who wants to get a much better night's sleep. How can we stay in touch with you, Bernice, after this podcast show?
My website is sleephaven.co.nz, and you can always reach me there and find out a little bit more information about the contents of the book and some information on sleep.
Yeah, wow. Well, I can't wait to have you back on the show, because we just scrape like within an hour. I mean, I could have talked to you for hours. That's why it's called a talk show. But it's just so important. So thank you again for being a guest on the Spirit Girl podcast show and sharing your journey and story. What I really feel that I loved before we say goodbye was in your book, you really talked about if we are going through, week 1 and week 2 and week 3, like working through this journey, that it's okay to tell our loved one, your partner or your family or your kids, and it's okay to talk about it, to share, so that they know, because that's a really hard thing to do. Because you sometimes feel a bit embarrassed. Like, I know I've had situations where you think, but I love how you're empowering us to just openly talk about it, share our stories. And I feel that the more we do that, the more support we can get from each other and awareness.
It's so important that we do open up those conversations and reach out to other people to share our experiences, but also to give other people permission to share theirs, because, there are so many others around us that are struggling with sleep, and, it will be so reassuring for them to find out that they're not alone, that there is a pathway out of this. It's evidence-based. You just have to sit down and quietly do the work, and you will make some changes.
Yeah, and I love that. And I feel if this podcast show can provide hope to someone who only just got 3 hours sleep last night, I know what that's like. You know what that's like, Bernice. Like, I feel that if we can just help one person get a better night's sleep, then today's Spirit Girl podcast show with you and the Sleep Easy book has really served that person well. So, Bernice, once again, thank you so much for being part of the Spirit Girl podcast show. Super grateful that you've been here. Thank you so much. We'll say goodbye to Bernice, our beautiful Spirit Girl podcast host. I'm your host, Yvette Blowitz. Be sure to subscribe, to leave a 5-star rating and review, and to tell someone you love to. Please, please, please share this podcast show, Sleep Easy with Bernice Tuffery. I really, really feel so passionate that the more people that can get a good night's sleep, the better you can feel from within. And for our insomnia sufferers out there, or anyone who's got family members and friends, you're not alone. Sleep difficulty people, you are not alone, but support is here for you. So stay in touch with Bernice Tuffery. Grab her book, Sleep Easy. I love you all to bits. And together, let's feel good from within. Bye for now. Bye.